She was asked to take off her heels like everyone else, but when she revealed who she really was, ***, the entire airport went silent. You won't believe what happened next at this Miami airport security line. High-heeled shoe airplane. This isn't just a story about shoes, it's a story about class, character, and a powerful silent message. It was a typical, buzzing morning at Miami International Airport. The hum of suitcase wheels, the echo of flight announcements, and the low murmur of impatient travelers filled the air. People moved through the security lines, some still half asleep, others anxiously checking their boarding passes, all hoping for a smooth start to their journey. Amid the crowd, one woman stood out, not just for her sharp, tailored blazer or her graceful stride in elegant nude heels, but for the quiet confidence she carried. She placed her handbag on the conveyor belt and approached the metal detector. That's when a uniformed TSA officer stepped forward, raising his hand. "Ma'am, please remove your heels," he said in a tone that was firm but routine. The woman paused mid-step, one foot already near the tray. She looked up, her expression calm, but there was the slightest flicker of surprise in her eyes. Not because the request was unusual. In fact, it was standard procedure. But because of what was about to unfold, and who she was. No one around her knew that standing there barefoot on the cold airport floor was Pam Bondi, former Attorney General of Florida, a high-profile figure who had once stood on some of the biggest political stages in the country. Yet in this moment, she was treated like any other traveler. But that wouldn't last long. Because within seconds, whispers began. A passenger squinted, then leaned over to another. "Isn't that Pam Bondi?" Suddenly, it wasn't just a normal morning at the airport anymore. And within moments, the entire security area fell into an unexpected, tense silence. Pam smiled politely, not wanting to cause a scene, and gracefully bent down to slip off her heels. Her movements were calm and composed, almost too composed for a moment that was growing increasingly awkward. As she placed her designer shoes in the plastic bin, the TSA officer stood rigid, watching her every move more intently than necessary. "Sorry, it's the policy," he repeated, this time with a firmer tone, as if preparing for resistance. But Pam didn't resist. She nodded, maintaining her poise, and moved through the scanner barefoot, her confidence unshaken, but her curiosity now quietly awake. Behind the main desk, another officer glanced up. His eyes caught hers for a second, and then stayed there. A slight furrow appeared on his brow. Recognition flickered. He knew exactly who she was. But he said nothing. Meanwhile, a murmur rippled through the line. "Wait, isn't that Pam Bondi?" whispered a woman clutching her boarding pass. Others turned to look. A few travelers subtly pulled out their phones, not to record, but just to capture a glimpse. Eyes widened. Whispers grew louder. The air shifted. Pam kept her cool, choosing not to reveal her identity just yet. She placed her bag on the inspection table. But something felt off. The same TSA agent who had asked for her shoes now began rummaging through her handbag, not once, but twice. Then a third time. He pulled out items unnecessarily, checking compartments that clearly had nothing suspicious. His face was stern. Focused. Almost too focused. Pam, still calm, finally looked him in the eye and asked, "Is there a problem?" The room didn't go silent, but it might as well have. Something had clearly changed in the energy around her. And everyone could feel it. The officer didn't respond right away. He stared at Pam with a blank, almost suspicious expression, still searching her face, but not seeing anything familiar. To him, she was just another passenger, until now. From the corner of the security desk, the second TSA officer, the one who had been watching silently, finally stepped forward. There was something in the way he moved. A quiet urgency. A sense that things were about to change. He leaned in closer, his voice low but steady. Ma'am, are you who I think you are? Pam's calm smile didn't waver. She nodded slightly, her voice soft, controlled. Yes, I'm Pam Bondi. That was all it took. The officer blinked, his expression shifting instantly from suspicion to recognition, from formality to respect. His posture straightened, and his demeanor softened in an instant. The first TSA agent, still standing beside her bag, looked back and forth between them, now clearly confused. He didn't understand what had changed, until it hit him. His eyes widened. Ma'am, I apologize, he stammered, taking a half step back. I didn't realize. Before he could finish, Pam gently raised her hand and shook her head. It's okay, she said with grace. I'm just like everyone else here today. No special treatment needed. Her words were sincere, and her tone held no bitterness. But the truth was, everything had already changed. The energy in the room had shifted. Passengers who had been half asleep just moments ago were now alert, whispering to each other. Some leaned in for a better look. A few raised their phones, pretending to scroll while trying to sneak a quick photo. The tension was gone, replaced by something else entirely: curiosity, surprise, and just a hint of awe. As the tension settled and the buzz of recognition spread, the lead TSA officer made his way through the checkpoint, his expression composed but clearly apologetic. The moment had escalated beyond a routine screening, and now required a more thoughtful touch. He stopped just in front of Pam, standing with quiet dignity in her bare feet. Ms. Bondi, I hope everything is okay. Sorry for the inconvenience, he said, his voice low and respectful. Pam looked up at him with the same steady calm she'd shown from the start. She gave him a reassuring smile. I understand, she said simply. Everyone has a job to do. I respect that. There was no sarcasm, no bitterness, just poise. Her response landed with weight, showing the kind of leadership that didn't demand attention but naturally commanded it. The officer nodded, visibly relieved and perhaps even a little impressed. But then Pam added something else, something that made everyone within earshot pause. But you know, it's also important to treat people fairly, whether they're public figures or not. That line cut through the noise like a bell. It wasn't confrontational. It wasn't boastful. It was just true. Nearby, a woman clutched her coffee cup a little tighter and nodded in agreement. Another traveler whispered. That's class right there. Because it wasn't about being famous or powerful. It wasn't about being Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General. In that brief exchange, it became something bigger. It was a reminder, to the officers, to the passengers, and maybe even to herself, that respect, professionalism, and fairness should never depend on who you are. They should exist simply because we're all human. And in that moment, she reminded everyone of exactly that. With the moment behind her, Pam calmly gathered her belongings. She slipped her heels back on, adjusted her blazer, and gave the TSA officers a polite nod. No dramatics. No pointed looks. Just quiet dignity. The once tense security line began to move again, slowly returning to its usual rhythm. But something had changed. The officers stood a little straighter now, not out of fear or guilt, but with a new awareness. They had just been reminded that the way you treat someone in a fleeting moment can leave a lasting impression. Not just on a public figure, but on anyone walking through those gates. Pam never raised her voice. She never pulled rank or demanded apologies. She didn't take out her phone to post about the incident or cause a scene. Instead, she let her character speak louder than anything else in that room. She walked away the same way she had arrived, calm, composed, and confident. But now, every person who witnessed the moment saw her differently. It wasn't her title that earned their respect. It was how she handled the situation, with patience, humility, and grace. As she disappeared into the crowd, one woman leaned toward her friend and whispered, I didn't know who she was before, but I won't forget her now. That line lingered. Pam Bondi's airport moment wasn't about protocol or power. It wasn't about shoes or status. It was about how true strength doesn't need to shout. It's shown in how you treat others, especially when no one expects anything from you. And that morning, in the middle of a busy airport terminal, Pam reminded everyone that character will always travel further than fame. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment speech balloon, and hit that subscribe button bell for more real-life stories that remind us what character truly means. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.